Welcome to this explainer. As small business owners, we pour absolutely everything into making our physical storefronts feel inviting, authentic, and totally unique to our communities. But when it comes to our digital storefronts, well, it's remarkably easy to just lose that soul. Today, we're diving into a fascinating strategic guide from Silphium Design. It reveals exactly how we can transform a generic, cookie-cutter website into a deeply authentic, historically rooted digital storefront. We're going to look at how tapping into local history isn't just about warm, fuzzy nostalgia. It's actually a calculated business decision to build unshakable brand trust. Okay, let's dive into this. Be honest for a second. Does your website feel kind of like a digital clone? Scroll through the web today and you see countless sites that just blend into this sterile sameness. They use the exact same layouts, the same detached corporate voice, and frankly, they have zero real connection to the physical communities they actually serve. This is a massive pain point for us local businesses who are just trying to stand out in a sea of generic copycats. To fix this, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, escaping the generic web. Second, building trust through shared heritage. Third, the local SEO multiplier. Fourth, unearthing your digital artifacts. Fifth, designing with historical authenticity. And finally, balancing history and modern UX. All right, Section 1. Escaping the generic web and moving beyond sterile templates. Let's face it, the internet is absolutely flooded with these forgettable, placeless corporate templates. You know the ones, full of impeccably dressed stock photo people pointing enthusiastically at laptops. Sure, it's functional, but it lacks soul. It completely lacks a sense of place. But contrast that with a rooted local landmark. By weaving the stories, the aesthetics, and the true character of our specific locations right into the fabric of our sites, we completely transform our web presence. We ground our businesses in our physical communities. We make our brands felt and remembered rather than just seen as another generic online brochure. Section 2. Trust through shared heritage or forging emotional bonds. Humans are hardwired for stories, and a community's local history is basically a giant treasure chest of these shared experiences. Think about it. When a visitor recognizes a familiar photograph of your main street from decades past, or sees a pattern from an old local textile mill, an immediate, unspoken connection is forged. It's like a shared cultural shorthand. And this brilliantly illustrates a key idea. You are no longer just a business. You are a neighbor. Tapping into this shared heritage proves you've actually invested in understanding your community. That builds a level of emotional loyalty and credibility that a stock template literally could never fake. Moving on to Section 3, the local SEO multiplier, and becoming the local authority. Now, this isn't just about aesthetics or warm, fuzzy feelings. There are highly practical, measurable benefits here for your bottom line. Enter EAT. That's Google's ranking factors based on expertise, authority, and trustworthiness within a specific geographic location. See, search engines actively want to provide users with the most relevant, location-specific results possible. So when you authentically tell the story of your community's past, you demonstrate deep, authoritative knowledge of your area. You become a true digital resource. Search engines take notice of this, and your local search visibility gets a massive boost. Now, what's really interesting here is how easy it is to organically embed these local SEO triggers, things like landmark buildings, local historical figures, or old street names. For instance, imagine a restaurant in Boston that posts about how their menu is inspired by 1920s recipes from the historic North End. By simply telling that story, they are naturally embedding highly relevant long-tail keywords that Google associates with Boston-specific searches. That is a massive opportunity that their generic, placeless competitors are completely missing. Okay, Section 4, unearthing your digital artifacts, the research phase. So, how do we actually pull this off? Well, before we design anything, we kind of need to become historical detectives. Step 1 is the digital dig. You search through online archives like the Library of Congress or local historical society sites. Step 2 takes us entirely off the screen and into the physical archive. Visiting your local library or town hall for tangible artifacts, like, say, old Sanborn fire insurance maps, can yield absolutely incredible design inspiration. And finally, Step 3, oral histories. Talking to community elders captures high-quality, deeply personal narratives that a massive global corporation simply cannot replicate. Section 5. Designing with historical authenticity and translating history into design. All right, so once we've gathered all these amazing artifacts, how do we actually translate the grit of local brick or the patina of aged copper into a cohesive web design? Let's break it down. Take typography. You could use bold slab serifs inspired by 19th century factory signs for your headers, but pair them with clean, modern fonts for the body text so it's still super readable. For colors, please don't use generic web palettes. Grab a color picker tool and extract specific hex codes directly from faded vintage postcards or old painted advertisements. And imagery and texture, subtle backgrounds that mimic local wood grain or old paper can make your site feel less like a slick screen and way more like a handcrafted, locally rooted object. And finally, Section 6, Balancing History and Modern UX, to avoid the old-fashioned trap. Now, there is a critical danger here we really need to watch out for: creating a site that is historically inspired but looks and functions like it's actually old. Leaning way too heavily into vintage aesthetics can quickly make a site cluttered and unusable. Achieving that modern balance is all about restraint. You absolutely must maintain fast, responsive, mobile-first layouts and high legibility. A vintage look cannot lead to a vintage user experience. Subtlety is your greatest tool here. Using historical touches as flavorful accents, like a single well-chosen header font or a really meaningful icon, invites discovery without totally overwhelming your users. So, the crucial point is this: your history is your competitive edge. In a digital world that often feels entirely disconnected and just, well, generic, your specific community's unique past is a vibrant, untapped resource. It's a truly authentic asset that provides a genuine sense of place. And that is something no big national competitor and no generic website template can ever copy. Which leaves us with one final thought to really reflect on. What story is your website telling today? Is it just functional, or is it a meaningful chapter in your town's ongoing narrative? Let's look at our communities with fresh eyes, dig into those local archives, and rethink how our digital storefronts can truly connect with our neighbors. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy researching.